Life is a quest for logic and reason. It is a quest to find balance between science and faith. Life is a quest for knowledge and understanding. But most importantly, it's a quest for personal discovery. Whatever your quest, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Welcome to Quest. Hi, India. Welcome to the Quest podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming back. You were on in the last season, I believe, but it's always wonderful to have you back. And I want to just kind of start, like, it's been a while since your memoir, Still Learning. So I'm curious, since the kind of the release of that book, what have been the most surprising or meaningful moments in your life since then? Because I think you have some things to maybe tell the listeners.
I do. I became a mother, so I think that would probably be the biggest, most life-changing
That's pretty big.
experience since putting out this memoir, Still Learning, in print. And, I just feel like since becoming a mom, I have additional motivation that I never really had in my life. Like it's no longer just me, it's the three of us. And so I've really been prioritizing family and career and just like trying to find that balance. And I'm not going to say that I have found it, but I'm looking for it.
Well, I'm curious, how has your relationship with language and self-expression changed since writing your memoir? Has any of that part of your life changed?
For sure. I think I try to be more careful about what I say. Like if anything, especially nowadays, I feel really like, whoo, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And sometimes if you get me started, I'll just like keep going. So I have to be careful of that. Things are permanent, but also I believe in forgiveness too. So
Sure.
I think that sometimes my choice of language can come from a place that has a lot of humor in it because that's one of my main coping strategies. And I never want to be offensive to someone, unless they're stealing my parking spot or like slamming their brakes on in front of me and I might get road rage. But for the most part, I'm pretty even keeled unless like you're married to me. But God bless my husband. But I just think like being a writer is really important in my life. And not only things that I put out there on social media or in print, but just for my own mental health. Like if I didn't have the ability to just sit down and let myself write and, this is an ugly word, but spew everything that I have going on inside of me, I just don't know how I would manage, honestly.
Yeah. There has to be an outlet somehow.
Yeah, and I want it to be something creative because when it's not something creative, it can kind of be destructive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look for ways that are healthy ways to channel what I'm feeling inside, and writing is definitely one of those things.
Well, that's great. That's great. Recently, there's been a resurgence in your book sales, and this is due to Allison Mack's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Did you listen to it?
I did not.
You did not. I'm curious, what do you think the fascination with Nexium is? Why does it stay alive?
Well, I think it's a contemporary cult in a lot of ways because of the self-help element. It's not the typical or stereotypical way that I think people associate cults, like maybe with groups like Marilyn Manson or Jonestown or
Charles Manson.
Oh
Not,
yeah, well,
yeah.
thank you so much. Well, I was also thinking about Marilyn Manson because of all his allegations too, which
I
was
was thinking Marilyn Manson's cult. Wait a second. Let's just.
well, yeah, let's go back. I was thinking
I'm keeping this in because it's a hilarious soundbite, but
yeah, and also it's accurate because I know some of the survivors that were affected by him, and
let,
I'm like,
let's get Rose
hey,
McGowan on the line right
yeah,
now.
or others who I know, who would probably say yes, cult of one or cult of many, who knows. Anyways, I think Nexium was a curveball for a lot of people because they didn't expect toxic cult-like behaviors to be masked behind a self-help organization
Right.
or something of that nature. Like you're like, what? You don't even expect it. And then on top of it, I think the fascination with Nexium has to do with the celebrities that were involved. And that is just kind of like clickbait, in my opinion, because there's a lot of groups out there that are just as bad or worse, or, a little more mild, that don't have any celebrities but use all the same tactics. So I feel like those were kind of the reasons why it had so much interest.
Yeah.
Also, it was extreme. I'm not gonna lie. Like I can make jokes about it now and make light of certain things, but there was nothing about my experience in Nexium and specifically DOS, the cult within the cult, that hasn't had a major effect on my life.
Yeah.
So I can't just make light of that, but I also know that like my whole personal mission is to not let the past control my future or my present, and that is like a constant kind of negotiation.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I recently rewatched Seduced, which was your your show on Stars, and I couldn't help but know. And it was interesting because I hadn't watched it in a while, and now that I've gotten to know you so much better, I see it differently in a way. But I think what's really interesting is like I think I was joking about this the other day with you. I said I think that your Seduced documentary is keeping Stars in business because every time I turn on Stars, you're like the big banner at the top.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered. I hope so. I don't know. I haven't heard that, but I would like to think so.
And then it's like the second movie is like the second slide is like some like first run movie that's just going there, and I'm just like, this is hilarious. Like yours is
Well,
the first one. So even Stars is like pushing, watch a show about, about a cult. And it's like, it's still out there. It's still
I
alive. It's still people, you know,
I will say that it was their most popular documentary, but I think what keeps Stars in business is Outlander and the Power Universe.
oh yeah.
But I would like to think that people were tuning in to watch on Stars.
Oh man. I want to ask you, so I've wanted to know this for a long time. I've often wondered about your relationship to Keith right now. And I'm not saying with Keith, but rather to Keith. I want to be very specific about my terminology. So, do you forgive him? Are you angry with him? Do you hope he gets murdered in prison? Is there any of you that feels sorry for him? Where are you at with it?
I do not feel sorry for him.
Okay.
And like I said, I believe in forgiveness. That doesn't mean that I have forgiveness for everybody. I don't forgive him, actually, because he tortured me and he tortured a lot of other people. And I think he is getting the justice that he deserves. And I have strong feelings about that. I think what makes me happy is knowing that he's in prison. Because you can't just go around hurting people in the ways that he did and stealing their life, basically, from them, under the umbrella of I'm helping you and I'm advising you and I'm coaching you and I'm mentoring you, but really you're actually doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's where he belongs.
Yeah. I appreciate you telling me that. I've often been curious, um, how you felt about it right now.
Like, does he make me angry every day? No, I don't give him that much satisfaction. But are there moments where I feel super angry and upset and like uncontrollable rage inside? Like, absolutely. I'm a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, moving on from that, um, you have a new book coming out, and your
Yeah.
new book is a collection of poetry.
Yes.
This book is called From Numb to Normal. What made you decide that poetry was the right way to tell these next chapters of your story?
I think because I'm tired of explaining myself to a certain extent, which is kind of ironic because I'm right here on this podcast explaining myself. But in a lot of ways, From Numb to Normal is just me expressing complicated experiences in a way that makes sense to me, that feels very unapologetic. And I I feel good about that because it's just me doing something for myself. Like, honestly, I'm not even looking for people's approval with this. And I think that's partly terrifying.
Yeah.
Because when you put something out into the world, like the very thing that you're looking for is people to like it and to buy it and to enjoy it and to understand it and to, be affected by it. And I don't know how this is going to be received when I put it out there, but I think ultimately this is a process of me just doing something that matters for me and just letting go, which is scary.
Yeah. I have to say, for the listeners, when India approached me about an idea for a poetry book to publish it, particularly as a follow-up to Still Learning, we went through, I'm skeptical at first. I do like poetry books, but poetry books are a hard sell. And we had a couple of days where we just got online and you read these poems to me. And it was quite moving. And especially when you explained to me, like you were reading, I think, poetry to me that maybe no one had ever even heard before. And many that you probably had never read out loud. I think you mentioned. It was quite moving to hear you read those to me and for me to know, who or what they were about was incredibly powerful. And some of these poems were written after the collapse of Nexium, when you were in that sort of that odd liminal space, not knowing what was going to happen to you. This stuff is intense. Literally some of the best poetry I've ever read or had spoken to me. So I'm curious, you've spoken openly about your Nexium experience and the journey afterwards, and a lot of people can read that in your book. How did returning to that emotional space through this poetry or reading this stuff, how did that differ from writing your memoir and writing these poems? How did that help you process and understand your experience?
Well, thank you for saying what you said. I'm flattered that you thought that it was good enough to publish, because honestly, these have just been my private collection and I haven't really shared them with many people, maybe just like 3. And maybe a couple more these days just to say, like, what do you think of this? But it always comes with a lot of trepidation because I'm very much speaking from the heart, and sometimes they come out long form and, completely unedited and kind of like raps, and other times they come out a lot cleaner and well formed, and I just kind of like let myself do my thing. But it's completely different than writing a memoir. I mean, for me, the memoir required meticulous, editing and decisions because I wanted to get such a long period of time condensed into a relatively small book. So I was making choices about what I was going to include. Obviously, there was so much more I wanted to include, but I didn't want this massive book. I just kind of wanted to make sure that the points that I wanted to make about indoctrination and grooming and cult dynamics were really clear and that the message was clear. And, cut to writing poetry, it's my therapy. So it's not about being perfect. It's not about, everything making sense. It's just about expression and I think like a sense of closure for me. Like when I write them and I put it out there and maybe the follow up to this will be spoken word, which I'm excited and scared to do. It's like another way to get it out of me and it not have to be perfect or beautiful or fact checked. It's like it's poetry.
Right. Right. I can't help but think about like that time frame after Keith was arrested, when kind of Nexium, I think you had mentioned Nexium did function for a little while after he was arrested, but kind of that odd time frame where like, the kind of the world you followed in your peer group, all of those people were gone and you were just kind of like, in New York trying to like figure stuff out, alone, trying to like work jobs. I think people were coming into your places of work and criticizing you. Like, I just can't imagine how stressful that time was after that. And also, probably the fear of just not knowing if you were going to be arrested tomorrow. There was going to be in the morning, it'd be a knock at the door and it was the FBI, like, that would be too much for a lot of people. And I'm assuming that a significant amount of the poetry was written during that time frame. Am I right or wrong on that?
Actually, I wasn't writing at all at that time.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I was in survival mode, so I didn't really like give myself permission to do anything like restorative. Like I was just trying to survive. Like what you said is exactly what it was like, just like intense chaos. But because I was in the midst of it, I wasn't like thinking about, oh my God, this is so stressful. I was just like, whoa, how the fuck am I going to make it through the day? Like just power through. I was kind of just in a power through phase.
Wow. That's nuts. I would have thought for sure that this would have been like a great outlet for
Oh no,
poetry.
I didn't have the wherewithal to have a healthy outlet. I was literally just trying to survive each day in a way, in kind of a delusion, because I was going to work and then working 14-hour days at certain point just so that I could be distracted from the reality of what was going on in my life, which was completely like chaotic and scary and uncertain and messy.
Yeah. Yeah. Poetry can be very intimate. When you were writing it, did you write with an audience in mind, or was it really just kind of your personal journey reflected in the poetry?
That's a good question, because when I was writing, I was at a completely different stage in my life. I mean, I was a couple years out. I was giving myself permission to do healing type activities like therapy, long walks. I was trying to take the pressure off myself. I'm not somebody who likes to just sit and do nothing. I'm not that good at that, although I would like to be, and it's kind of like a life goal of mine. I'm always kind of like interested in something and doing stuff. So I was in that phase, and part of that phase for me was a lot of writing, but just creatively. I wasn't thinking about an audience. I wasn't even really thinking about publishing it until a couple friends were like, you should do a poetry book. And I was like, who's going to buy that? Like, who Who's going to care about that? And then I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just give it a shot and see what happens. And so it's kind of been a brave thing for me to do because it wasn't my intention to publish this, although now I can see myself getting braver and braver with each stage, and I can imagine speaking these things in public. And even though I'm not quite there as we speak, I can see that for the future.
What excites you most about sharing this book with the world? How do you hope it sparks conversation or connection with readers?
I hope that it just reminds people that for the most part, I think we all feel alone sometimes, and that loneliness that kind of tells you to go isolate, that nobody understands you, that you're better off alone, that voice that you might hear, like, doesn't need to be the most powerful voice. That there's other parts of you that if you let them in, they might encourage you otherwise. And I think, like, I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, I just hope that this kind of shows people that they're not alone. They're not the only ones that have felt like this. That sometimes when you're grappling with challenging points in your life, you do have mixed emotions, and that those mixed emotions are normal, and that you don't have to have the answers to everything, even though sometimes having the answers can make you feel better. It doesn't always change things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I just kind of wanted to give this sort of fluid experience of healing is not linear in my experience. It might be for other people, but I feel like time has really been my ally, even though sometimes it can feel really painful.
Right. Right. You mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that you now have a baby. And I'm curious, I think anyone listening can kind of see the state of our world right now and the pressures and the stresses and financial issues and all of these things that I think, we're all living with every day. Outside of writing, what practices or habits have helped you stay centered and creative during kind of any challenging time?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I feel like that's a moving target because each challenge, I think, presents different needs.
Yeah.
And I think I'm learning to navigate that moving target, honestly. Like at every phase of my life, I feel like I need different things, I need different support, but really, I come back to the fact that keeping my circle smaller keeps me safer and keeps me more grounded. It's like when I'm all over the place, where I'm, you know, scattering myself in a million different directions, that's kind of when I burn out.
Right.
And so I'm trying to use my energy more wisely, even though I'm a very easily excitable person. I've got a side to me that just gets completely exhausted by things.
I bet.
I need to remember that is not a character flaw, and that's just like part of me.
Yeah.
You know, taking breaks, being able to have kind of pauses, all of that is really important to me because, like I said before, like I can really just go, go, go until I hit the ground.
Right. Right. So you gave everyone a season of the Still Learning podcast. Is that going to come back, or is it on hiatus, or what's the status of that?
Status is undetermined.
Okay.
Would I like it to come back in a different form? For sure. But I'm not gonna lie, like it's a lot of work to put out a good podcast. And if you don't have, the tech savviness, which
Sure.
is something that I lack, I feel like it can be even harder. So with the right team, I might come back maybe in a different form, maybe in a different platform, maybe
Sure.
I'll tease it later. We'll see what happens.
Well, for those listeners who haven't gone to that podcast, there's a great first season. So definitely go have a listen to that because you have some great topics that you speak on. But yeah, I do hope it comes back. People can still get the Still Learning book. So it's in all the places where you get books, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all that. Can you tell everyone what formats it's available in?
Yes, it's print, ebook, audio through Audible. And then I think through your site, they can buy a signed copy.
Signed copies are coming soon.
Soon. There you go.
So they're not out. We're not doing them yet, but they are coming soon. So, yeah.
But there's a waiting list. And if you're on it, yippee.
That's right. What about when will From Numb to Normal be available, and when is it on pre-order?
Pre-orders are February 7th. So the week before Valentine's Day, if you're feeling extra loving to yourself, maybe you'll want to pre-order that. And then it comes out April 7th, which also happens to be my grandmother's birthday. So a little tribute to her. She's also an artist and very much an inspiration in my life.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone is really going to love this collection of poetry. And even if you're not a poetry fan, you are going to find something in this that moves you for sure. I can't speak enough about it. So I'm very excited about that being one of the first couple books that Metacortex puts out this year.
Thank you. Me too.
India, I'm so happy you came back to the podcast. We should do this more often. And tell everyone how they can find you out there on social media and the interwebs.
They can find me on Instagram. I'm very good with direct messages. And, if you comment in my posts, I'll definitely see those notifications. If I don't, I'm really sorry in advance. And that's at India Oxenberg on Instagram.
Perfect. And you have a website too, right?
I do, in my link tree, in my bio.
Gotcha. India, thanks for coming out today.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Metacortex Publishing hopes that you've enjoyed this presentation.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. This podcast is produced by Todd Fischer and is distributed by Metacortex Publishing. This podcast is copyright. Any previously trademarked or copyright content is used by permission. Information and opinions stated in this podcast should not be construed as medical advice. Please visit the official website of Metacortex Publishing at metacortexpublishing.com or find us on social media for other unique content.